For early access to new episodes and other exclusive content, go to patreon.com/MiharuTheFox. Hey guys, it's Miharu and welcome back to SpyroCast. This is episode 52, and today I have with me, introduce yourself please.
Hello there, my name is Karlamon, and I'm an animation and aviation enthusiast, and also like a bit more of a casual Spyro fan, but like a character who like I have a deep affection for, like since childhood. I'm someone who aims to spread positivity about like, you know, animation and sometimes gaming around social media. Like I mostly look around on Blue Sky, but there's also times where like I would post movie reviews on Letterboxd or like television reviews on Serialized. Like I have a big backlog of all this, and yeah, like I'm honestly like kind of surprised that like I do have like this admirable following on Blue Sky where like a lot of people seem to respect me and all that, and I mean I don't know if I fully deserve that, but yeah, like it's quite an honor, I gotta say.
Awesome. So what is your history with Spyro?
Okay, so my history of Spyro is probably going to be a bit more brief than like maybe your other guests, because like for starters, like I only really grew up with the first Spyro game on the PS1. So this was back in like 98 or 99-ish, where like you know, I had my first grasp of what was my first game console, the PlayStation 1. This was actually a gift that was provided from my uncle all the way from Hong Kong. And like what it was included was what's called one of the demo discs that they provide with the PlayStation. I think it's the 8th one or something. And one of the games on there was this game called Spyro the Dragon, and this is what first introduced me to this like little purple dragon who goes on an adventure to save like these trapped dragons, and like yeah, so it helped me understand what was it about like demos and all that, because like this was just like a work in progress of the actual game, and pretty much eventually like I'll be able to try out and, you know, play quite a bit of the full game when like when the time was right for me, because you know I was still a very young child back then. And yeah, so like other games that like we would usually play, like Spyro was one, like it was one of the few that like I would gravitate towards too, because yeah, it was like one of my earliest exposures to like 3D platforming and all that. And of the games that like I played with growing up, one of the earliest that I played was well, it's this licensed game called Porsche Challenge, and surprisingly, like I actually first experienced games in black and white, because we didn't have the composite cables set up properly, and it was only like until maybe a year of gaming or so that like, oh, games are actually in color now. Wow. So I kind of experienced like all these movies and such. But I was like very enamored by like what Spyro was, and like it was pretty much like unlike any kind of visual experience that I would have experienced like in any form of media, I'd say, because like it in a way kind of resembled like an early CGI animated movie, but in 240p and running on weak PlayStation hardware of all things. And there's just like some kind of like yeah, there's just some kind of childhood innocence towards it, where like it isn't like this huge end of world stakes adventure or like gritty and serious and stuff like that. Because like generally when I play games, like if it's like that kind of like death-defying experience, it kind of stresses me out a little with like the amount I would lose and stuff like that. But Spyro just felt like a game that was more accessible to me, where like it's open-ended, and you know I could like proceed through the game through my own pace and experience these and get immersed into these fantasy worlds and all that. And I think like what another aspect is just, well, Spyro himself, because like you know, like unlike other platform protagonists back in the time, like maybe Gex or Bubsy, where like they're trying to be snarky and in your face, like yeah, Spyro just has like this childlike charm towards him, because you know he's young, naive, and you know just trying to like understand everything around him and all that. Yeah, and also the fact like Carlos Azraqui, like you know he gives like this nasal performance that like I do resonate with, because like upon learning later he also voiced Rocco in Rocco's Modern Life, which is one of my favorite cartoons as a kid, and like and it, you know it's kind of like a natural progression in a way, because like you know Tom Kenny later voiced Spyro in the later games, and And I do say that because like SpongeBob was Stephen Hillenburg's creation. Rest in peace to him. And Stephen got his first industry experience with Rocko's Modern Life. So I do find it funny he has that kind of connection and all that.
Right. Yeah, that is cool.
Hmm.
So the first game is the only one that you've played?
Well, for the original trilogy on the PS1, yes. I did play a little bit of the third one, I think, with the skateboarding levels, but I guess the catch for my life is that I was kind of restricted with my my video game playthroughs during the time because my parents generally restricted the PlayStation towards school holidays, and I do have like a admiration for that because yeah, it is unfortunate like I didn't spend enough time gaming, but I do understand like my parents' perspective and like experiencing the real world and stuff like that. So I didn't really play like the later games to be honest. Like I didn't fully own a 6th-gen console, which like so yeah, Into the Dragonfly, Hero's Tale, the Legend of Spyro trilogy, like I didn't really play those to be honest, but like that doesn't mean I was still very interested in them because like during my teen years, like Wikipedia was like my huge addiction back in high school, and
Right.
yeah, so like I was very interested in like where Spyro was right now, and like learning about like how much of a trouble production Into the Dragonfly was, and like like, how poorly the developers were treated. Like I do feel sorry for them. And while I didn't play the Legend of Spyro trilogy, I did find it like interesting on the surface because of like the darker cinematic approach it took, and hey, they got Frodo Baggins to voice Spyro. That's quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and like there's also like the movie which like had my curiosity because it's this movie that was coming out, it's 3D animated, and the weird thing is it's like they had it scheduled for Turkey of all places in 2010, and like it came and went, and there was just nothing, no announcement. And it was up to like one of the writers, I believe, who had to like speak out on forums saying that it was cancelled long ago because the owners of Activision wanted to take Spyro in a different direction. And as we know, that turned out to be Skylanders.
Right.
Yeah, and so fast forwarding a bit later, like my Spyro hyperfixation came into full circle once again once they announced the Reignited trilogy. Like I know my online friends were getting obsessed, and myself included, because this is like a whole new like version of Spyro, like far more appealing and all that. Still retaining his childlike innocence, but brought up to date with like the latest animation technology, and he is just super cute, and like the environments look like so much better. So a little bit later after the trilogy was released, I finally got my hands on it, and man, it was such a fresh fear, just revisiting my childhood in like this whole new way. Spyro was just like very cute and all that.
Cool.
And it was also like I pretty much finished the game just for the whole trilogy, like completed everything just before the pandemic. So I do have like this sentimental feeling that like it was like my last stages of like pure happiness before everything shut down. So, and it's also the fact that my brother also gifted me for Christmas like the Spyro controller holder, which I'm holding right now. This is just a treasure I'll keep.
Oh yeah,
hold with forever.
I have one of those too.
Oh, nice, yeah.
So, of the trilogy, which is your favorite and least favorite?
I mean, I'd have to say that like the original trilogy, just for like because of my childhood bias, like and especially like what I gravitate towards the most with like the original trilogy is that like it's a soundtrack by Stuart Copeland. Like everything is just so relaxing, and it's just a calming and upbeat vibe of the game that's like there's not much intensity with it. You just like progress at your own pace while like absorbing the sounds of Copeland, and this also helps because like I'm actually a big fan of the Police, and Stuart Copeland's the drummer of the Police, and yeah, like I really just had like a blast us into all these remastered tracks. Like I still have the melodies from my childhood, and revisiting them for the Reignited trilogy was just a blast in my ears. As my least favorite, like I can only really comment on like the Reignited trilogy. So in my perspective, I think like the Dragon is a bit weaker than the others. Like it's not bad or anything, but I just feel like the stakes are a bit less engaging with like, because at least for the first game, you got to like rescue all these elder dragons who were just full of personality, but once you like get to the dragon, it's just like you're just wrestling non-verbal baby eggs, and it's just not as engaging in my eyes. And you could also tell, like, with the original game design by Insomniac, you're just like, you can tell that they were just trying to grasp for like new ideas, such as with like the new playable characters. You can tell like that they're just pushing their limits with what they could do creatively with the franchise at the time.
Yeah, it's interesting you would say that about the stakes feeling not as high or engaging. I actually feel the complete opposite. But to be fair, I feel that way about the original Year of the Dragon. I do believe that Reignited, in its rushed nature, kind of removed some of that element, but I always thought that the stakes felt very high in that game. Personally, I love the foreboding feeling of it, especially at the beginning parts.
Yeah, and and I could tell like it was like the most rushed because I'm aware that it was outsourced to a different developer instead of Toys for Bob.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Sanzaru.
Yes, but I mean, I still really love it, and like I will say that Repto's Rage, the second one, like I also find that like very engaging and a bit more intense because Repto is like an actual like threatening presence, and Gray's a villain, I might add. And also an upgrade from Nasty Nork from the first game where, he just gets angry because the Elder Dragon just called him ugly, and that's enough for him to rage quit. Yeah.
Yeah, there are those who don't see Ripto as much of a presence at all, actually, because they feel like he's not much of a threat, and he's just like short and angry, and that's all he is. But to that, I say that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what makes him such a memorable villain, is the way he's portrayed.
Yeah, I agree. Like, he has like this Napoleon complex where he's short in stature, but he just tries his best and all that. And yeah, that reminds me of Lord Shen from Kung Fu Panda 2,
Yes.
Yeah, like he's very small, but like there's just like a lot of like deep complexity towards his motives and like motives in destroying the world, and that's why like I think like he's among DreamWorks' greatest villains.
Yeah, Lord Shen's great.
I agree. Yeah.
I love Kung Fu Panda 2. That's my favorite of them.
Yeah, and also like in my top 5 DreamWorks movies currently.
Cool. So, moving on to the Realm Beyond segment, how did you feel when you saw that trailer?
I'll be honest, like, I was, like, grinning with joy, like, with every frame of this trailer when I watched for it. Like, and by grinning, like, I haven't done this since 2019 when Microsoft announced Microsoft Flight Simulator Revival. It was just so amazing to, know that, like, another franchise that I have deep affection for is coming to new technology after such a long time, such a long hiatus.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm so happy it's coming back.
Yeah, same. And I do understand that like for games nowadays they have much longer production times because of the advanced technology that they're having to deal with, and by the looks of Toys for Bob, like I say that they're absolutely cooking with this new interpretation of Spyro. Like, I'm very happy that they've aged up the character and they've aged up Spyro, and they've made the Toad a bit darker and more serious, which I do honestly appreciate, because the problem with like lots of franchises, and like I'm also including film franchises, is that many of them just try to maintain a status quo where it's like usually like the same time period and the characters don't age much, and that's an issue that I've had with the recent Despicable Me movies, because like there's we've had a lot of movies in the franchises, but Gru's girls are just still the same age, and it's just not much opportunity to expand upon them or understand, And this is what I appreciate what they're doing with Around Beyond. They've aged up Spyro, and that introduces that gives them the opportunity to take creative liberties with his more mature presence, like with his personality and all that, and especially like the flying mechanics. I'm really happy to see that they're implementing something new, and also I'd say something we haven't seen from the franchise since the last entry of the original Spyro trilogy.
Dawn of the Dragon?
Oh yes, that's what I was thinking. Yes, thank you. Like yeah, like with these flying mechanics, like I'm sure Toys of Bob will like introduce like brand new game possibilities that were not present when they were making the original trilogy. And like it's something that I'm very excited to see what they can do. And like, and I know that I've been like absent from gaming for a bit, but this may be like one of the few games that may respark my love for the medium. And yeah, looking forward to seeing it.
Cool. So, what are some of the most important things that you think it should have? Like, what would make it the perfect Spyro game for you?
Yeah, I guess in my view is that what I think Toys of Bob needs to do is there needs to be a balance of like both the familiar and the new, and I could see like how they're going with the approach. Like, it still has the same Spyro that we all know and love from the Reunited trilogy, and as I said, aged up a little. Like, they're introducing the new flying mechanics, and I think that's important when like reintroducing new franchise. Like there's familiar, but also the new, because if you're just repeating the same kind of gameplay mechanics and the narrative beats, you're not really doing anything new to the franchise, and just running like, why should I play this when I already have the original games that do the same thing, but maybe better or for worse? I don't know. So yeah, that's my perspective, and what they should do the thing, and also release it bug free. Like that's another important thing, because modern AAA games are just notorious for being buggy as hell. Like, and but I'm pretty sure I trust Toys of Bob and like delivering a complete and cohesive package.
Yeah, I think they should be able to do a good job. Hopefully any of those glitches that were and are still present in Reignited, like weird collision issues, hopefully that won't be an issue this time.
Yeah, I agree, because they're working with the same engine, just like instead of Unreal 4, it's Unreal 5, and like I'm pretty sure there'll be like new features within the engine that will allow them to tighten up the polish with the game and all that.
Okay, so basically you just want them to innovate and like take what you know and love, but also change it to make it like a fresh experience.
Yeah, yes, exactly, and yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. Yes.
How about story-wise? What do you think they can do with that?
Well, from the trailer, we have been seeing like we're getting a bit of a darker or more mature presentation with the game, and I'm not saying it should be like gritty and edgy like a lot of ill-fated reboots seem to do. Like I'm looking at you, Fantastic, but yeah, I've seen like a lot of promise with what they're doing with not only Spyro's more mature design and personality. Like we still see him as a lovable goofball, but like I'm sure like they'll be able to give some more maturity and complexity towards his character. Like he's no longer a naive childlike creature, so like they can sharpen up his personality in this new game. And I also noticed that like the new villain and the scarves, for example, I see it as like looking to be more of a threatening presence, and by the looks of the trailer, it could be more of like a bit more of a raised stakes, if you get what I mean.
Right, exactly, and that's what they've said. Something about pushing Spyro to emotional depths, as I recall.
Yes. Yeah, if they can do that, and I mean, if they're able to produce a Spyro game that can actually feel emotional and maybe cry, like that'll be very special.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think if a Spyro game can manage to make me cry, that might just be my new favorite game.
Yeah, maybe mine too. Well, we'll see.
How about returning characters? Do you have any favorites you want to see come back?
Well, I honestly hope like Hunter will make a comeback, because he was like one of my favorite side characters in the whole game. And I do hope they get like the same voice actor from Reunited to return.
Robbie Daymond?
Oh yes, yeah, but Hunter is like really cool in my eyes, and I'd like to see how they would expand upon his combat within the game, if they're going to introduce like more playable characters. I'm also open for like new faces, but I'm also like I've been seeing quite a bit of complaints and like concerns in regards to the absence of sparks. What is your view on that?
Well, since we know that Spyro's going to be stranded in this new world, I would assume that means completely alone without any of his friends. Maybe for a while that means no sparks. However, I don't agree that he's not going to be in the game at all. Like, I wouldn't think that would be the case. So, but I am looking forward to seeing how the gameplay works without sparks present. Like, maybe they'll do a legend sort of thing and then mix it with the classic gameplay once he comes back into the picture. I'm just interested to see where that'll go.
Yeah, that's an interesting take because I'm sure like they can introduce some of the more familiar faces like later on in the game. And I do get why they're trying to like start Spyro off with nothing because like as a film fan, like I know that vulnerable protagonists are like the most engaging to follow because of the struggles they go through. Like usually they start off with nothing and they have to build a way up to, be accepted in society or redeem themselves after a mishap. Yeah, it's like a classic Hollywood character structure that they could probably do with it. And by stranding Spyro, like they can make him like more vulnerable in that way. And as the play progresses, they'll allow the opportunity to give Spyro some upgrades or like go through multiple character arcs and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure like if they like bring in Sparks, for example, I'm sure he could be like a defense boost towards Spyro, like give him extra protection against villains, or maybe Sparks could provide like the additional weapon as like someone who can project light projectiles towards the enemies. Like that's something I think like would be interesting to implement into the game.
Oh, yeah, that would be cool. Speaking of redemption arcs, what are your thoughts on the possibility of Ripto returning, maybe as a redeemed villain character?
I honestly don't know. Wasn't he like killed off in like Spyro 2? It's been a while since I played that.
Yes and no, because he was in the epilogue of Spyro 3, but also he came back and Enter the Dragonfly, but, people don't consider that canon, so I don't know. There's no, like, there's nothing that says he's dead, necessarily. So.
Yeah. Yeah, like, Enter Dragonfly is pretty much like the somehow Palpatine returned moment. Instead, it's just, somehow Ripto returned. Yeah, right. But, I think like they could probably reintroduce Ripto as like a new villain from a different dimension, like like maybe instead of like being killed off in Ripto's rage, it could be banished to another dimension, or maybe the Shadow Realm if we're counting Fork's terminology. But it will be interesting to see like give him like a different perspective in life, like. Maybe what he was doing was wrong after all, and he could try to rectify his wrongdoings in order to be accepted by like our heroes and stuff like that.
Okay, how about a team up between him and Spyro at some point?
Yeah, it could be an interesting dynamic to team up Spyro with what was considered his arch nemesis back then, because Spyro and Ripto are pretty much polar opposite characters, and in terms of film narrative and characterization, having polar opposites of characters can like introduce interesting scenarios and clashing personalities that could make the drama more engaging. Because I'm sure like Spyro would have, he still has like grudges towards Ripto for the crimes he's committed, but he's probably potentially warm up as if like maybe like he needs Ripto to assist him in terms of scenario that he can't overcome himself. But they do need to introduce him properly. He can't be, Ripto's returned. Okay, let's just go. There needs to be like actual logic and reason of to why he's back in Spyro's presence.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. So we've reached the end for my normal questions. However, you said you had an idea for if you were to make a Spyro movie, what would it be?
Potentially, well, I guess the most obvious medium to tell this in animation is an animation because, if you try to make Spyro into a live action movie, it would just like look very awkward. And Spyro's always been associated with like being an animated-ish character, but like in terms of story, like I haven't decided like what kind of story they'll do, because like from adapting from a video game, you have to provide more substance than just like, oh, let's save the dragons or save the baby eggs, for example, or let's stop this villain. Like you do have to like provide Spyro with like more characteristics or inner goals to achieve. Like what kind of purpose does he have in this world, and what goals does he want to achieve in life, for example. And I think like this recent Sonic movies have like done a great job in that regard, because Sonic himself, like if you look on the surface, he's rather more of like a one-dimensional video game character where like he just collects rings and frees animals, from what I know from the early games. But for the movies, I actually really appreciate like providing him with more depth and purpose within like this new world he has to inhabit, because in the movie he's a tragic individual who got separated from his owl mother after the echidnas attacked his world, and then he's forced to vanish into this alien human world where he has to stay away from the sight of humans in order to avoid attention. And once Tom discovers him, he discovers Sonic, and they go on the road trip to rescue his rings. Like that works on the surface, like finding the rings that you lost is an admirable goal, but in terms of Sonic, what makes him engaging, like as like an individual, is that finding the rings isn't his primary goal, even though like that's the main goal of the narrative itself. What he wants is he wants to find a friend after spending pretty much his entire life in isolation. And it's small scale, but you can really empathize. It's something that I think like people who are introverted or like struggle to make friends, it's something they can deeply relate to. And if you can apply something like that towards Spyro, like give him a small scale personal goal that he wants to achieve, like I think that could do really good favors for him.
Interesting. So a Spyro movie along the lines of the way that the Sonic movies are doing them.
Yeah, well, minus live action, and it doesn't have to be exactly trying to find a friend, but I guess like it's more of the line of finding your purpose in life. Because he's a small dragon, maybe he's not up to par with the other dragons, like the ones who are more mature or elder. Like maybe you could like give him like some kind of a character flaw. Maybe he struggles with flying. Maybe he's afraid of heights or something. Like something to make him more vulnerable and flawed as a protagonist. Because that gives him like an extra obstacle to overcome.
Okay.
Yes, and another aspect I think like in terms of producing a Spyro movie is that like references should be not so in your face, and rather actually serve like a purpose to the narrative, because this is an issue that I have noticed with some of the recent video game adaptations, like Illumination's Mario movie and the recent live action Mortal Kombat movies. Like I'm not saying they're like entirely bad. Like I do like the first Mario movie and the second Mortal Kombat movie, but you just see like on the screen that they perform like these moves. They perform like mechanics that you see in the game, and it's more like reference more than anything. You say, oh, he did this in the game, but what purpose does it serve? And that's what I think like the Sonic movies do well, and to like a further extent, the second Mortal Kombat movie, like you do see like the familiar things that you do recognize from the games, but they do serve like a narrative purpose, and they do help like progress the characters into a new environment, like getting them out of their comfort zone. Yeah.
Okay. So what would you do for the villain, I guess? Would you have like Nasty Nork as the villain? Would you maybe try to like bring Ripto in from the start? Who do you think would be the best adversary?
I think that like Ripto is like the more complex villain of the entire trilogy, and I think like in terms of that they could start with him, for example, and because I mean I'm not saying they should use Nasty Nork, but he doesn't really have too much, and is just more of a coward more than anything. Like, but if they were to choose Nasty Nork, what I think that they should do instead is just work as a servant. Like have like someone who poses less of a threat, but like is ruled under someone who is even more of a threat. So for sort of like for the next villain that Spyro would partake in, he'll be facing a much bigger challenge with Ripto. And since this is like the movie would be pretty much its own canon, like I'm pretty sure they can introduce some like other villains as well, like that are not part of the original trilogy, like maybe someone from A Hero's Tale, for example, or the Legend of Spyro trilogy. Because I think like if they introduce characters from like other outside games, like it could be good fan service, but only if it serves like a strong narrative purpose in my eyes.
Okay. Yeah, I think, I don't know, for an origin story at least, I think I would personally try to keep Nasty Nork as the main villain of his origins, because otherwise it would just remind me too much of the Ratchet and Clank movie, where it's like, Nefarious wasn't there, why are you trying to shoehorn him into this, like... Yeah, like, man, the Ratchet and Clank movie, that was, like, so disappointing. I mean, I liked it. In fact, I enjoyed the movie more than I did the reboot of the game, so... But...
Oh, yeah, that's fair. Like, I understand. Like, I know it has its fans, but yeah. I do get your point of, like, shoehorning in someone who, just doesn't fit, like, the franchise and all that. Because, and, yeah, I see your point, like... And in that regard, like, I think, yeah, it would be wise to keep Nasty Nork as, like, the original villain, but as the first movie's villain, but at the same time, like, they need to do more than just, like, get him angry just because he's discriminated as being ugly, like,
yeah.
If you call someone
develop
ugly,
him more.
Yeah, like, you're not going to take things seriously if you're just called ugly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think it could work if he was a more developed character, or if they were going to do like a trilogy of movies based on the original trilogy of games. However, if it's just one movie, I guess I can see Ripto working as the main villain, but they would still have to find a way to like put Nasty Nork in there. Like, maybe, as you said, like, kind of working as a, apprentice kind of thing, like, under him, so.
Yeah, like, I think that could work. Yeah, like, and I highly doubt it'll be, like, the one-and-done movie for Spyro, because, as you know, like, Hollywood wants to make as many franchises as possible. So, like, if the studio does announce a Spyro movie, like, I'm pretty certain they're, like, clearly aiming to make more than one movie.
Yeah, but all right. Thank you so much for being on this episode and for sharing your thoughts and what you do and your idea for a Spyro movie and all that.
Yes, no worries, Miharu. And yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to this podcast. Like, it's been an honor to speak for you on here.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. That was a nice conversation.
Yeah, indeed. I think, I just grew up a bit, but I think maybe it went better than I expected, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you asked me a question in there, which is good. Hey, it's a back and forth. I love it.
Oh, all right, thank you.
And thank you, all of you out there, for listening. As always, don't forget to subscribe for more casual gaming content, and I'll see you in the next SpyroCast. Until then, this is Miharu, signing off.
All right, bye-bye.